fluently.com, and this is my Smart American Accent training. Welcome to our Saturday live question and answer class. Each week I talk about topics for American English pronunciation, American accent, intonation, whatever will be most helpful for you to understand and improve in your English speaking. Please feel free to leave questions in the chat at any time, and I'll turn to those in a few moments. But at the start of class each week, we usually have a topic, something that we're talking about. And today I want to talk about fluent speaking and intonation for questions. So we have a couple of different patterns for questions in English. It's different if we're asking what's called a yes-no question. That's a question that doesn't have a question word like who, what, when, where, or why, but rather it's a question that can be answered with either yes or no, such as, is that for me, or do you have any? These have a different intonation pattern than statements and then questions that have question words like who, what, when, where, and why. So let's look at these first. We'll talk about both the intonation and the fluent speech for these questions as examples for this topic. So when we have a yes-no question, the first thing you'll notice is that we start with the verb. Is that, do you? So that's a typical pattern for a yes-no question, that you have to reverse the word order. In a statement, you say that is or you do. In a yes-no question, you reverse that word order, you start with that verb. But the verb comes at the beginning, so it doesn't get the stress. The stress in these questions comes at the end, and it's the last content word of the phrase, and often it's the last word of the phrase. And in is that for me, the stressed word is the word me, so is going to be short, is that for me? And to show that it's a question, because we don't have a question word, we will also rise up in our intonation. So people typically learn about intonation and they learn you're supposed to rise up for questions. We only do this when it's a yes-no question. So oftentimes a question will be just the same as a statement where we fall off at the end. We'll talk about that in a moment. But for now, for a yes-no question, we're going to want to notice that our pitch goes even. Is that for me? And then it rises up on the stressed word. If the stressed word comes before the end of the sentence, we're going to rise up on everything after the stressed word. So for example, if I was saying, is that call for me? And I'm stressing on call, then I would rise up there. Is that call for me? Is that call for me? So rising up on all of the stressed words. Also notice that in is that for me, because me is stressed, it gets the clear vowel and it's longer, and the is that for gets reduced and it's going to be quicker. The main reduction we do here is that we aren't going to say for any longer, but rather for. Is that for me? Is that for me? We're also going to, as we link from the Z to the TH, is that for me? We will kind of cheat that TH a little bit. Is that for me? Is that, I might not have as strong as that with my tongue out. Is that for me? My TH might be a little cheated, or I'm going to just really rapidly link those Z, TH sounds together. So is that for me? Then when we have another question, interrogative question with reverse word order, do you have any? Now our stressed word is have, because this is the main verb that comes towards the end. I don't want to stress just on any. Do you have any? That is an acceptable stress pattern, but it changes the meaning. The typical stress pattern is to stress the verb because it's the content word. So it's going to be longer, and I'm going to rise up. And here's my example of I have to rise on all of the words that follow the stress words. So do you, regular pitch, do you have any? I'm going to stress and rise on both syllables of any. Do you have any? Any, up, up. Do you have any? If I was saying, do you have any money? Then that would change where money would be stressed, and I would just rise up on money. Do you have any money? Money, rising up. So I do have a number of videos talking about the intonation patterns for questions and for statements, but thinking about how we look at this in terms of also paying attention to the rhythm and the reductions. Do you have any? Do you have any? Have is going to be long and it's going to rise up. Do you have any? My you might change, could potentially change more to a y sound. I think I tend to say do you have any, with still the oo vowel, but it's going to be fast. Do you have any? Do you have any? And it may be slightly reduced in that vowel. Then lastly, when questions have a who, what, when, where, why, or a how, when they start with a question word, we still reverse the order of the verb. It comes, rather than it is, again we have is it. So those are our two clues for the question. But now our pattern for intonation is going to be just the same as a statement. So if I say the color of the car is red, I'm stressing on red. That's the last content word. The color of the car is red. And I'm falling off. I don't have to, my pitch can be in the middle and then drop off. The color of the car is red. Versus, and same pattern, the dropping off pattern happens on what color is it? I'm stressing here on the word color. It's the last content word in the phrase. And so I might do a little bit of a rise to stress on it. What color is it? So that I have room to fall on is it. Is it drops down. What color is it? Is it red? Is it for me? I'm rising up. A yes, no question. What color is it? Just same as the statement. The color is pink. The color is red. So two basic patterns to know about. Yes, no questions rise up on the stressed word and all words after. And WH questions and statements fall off after the stressed word and at the end of the phrase. Okay, so thank you for, this was a request from one of our channel members, so thank you for that request. I do have a few other channel member requests to cover, so we'll be doing a members video for that soon. If you'd like to know more about channel membership, you can click on the join button and learn about some of the perks we offer for channel members. And of course, please feel free to put your questions for today in the chat at any time. I'm happy to answer any questions that are relevant regarding English pronunciation, intonation. It doesn't have to be on the topic we talked about at the beginning, so feel free to leave your questions. Ask me what you'd like to know about. All right, we have a question about the word volatile. So there are two ways to pronounce this. First of all, the way I just said volatile with a clear vowel here on tile. That sounds like volatile. I'll just spell tile this way. We have the I diphthong here. Or we also have volatile, in which we reduce that final syllable to more of a schwa and it changes our T to a flap. In both cases, we stress on the first syllable va. Letter O says the ah sound. So we have first syllable stress, volatile, where we flap and we use a syllabic L, volatile, a volatile compound. Volatile, he's very volatile, that we have some secondary stress then and a clear vowel on that last syllable. Good request. Thank you for that word. Okay, we have a question about the word combination. Let's look at that. Combination. What's typical for words that end in tion is that we stress the syllable right before the tion. So this happens on Asian words, on Ishan words. It's one of the most consistent stress patterns that you can count on in English. So that means we're going to have our clear vowel on ne. We do have secondary stress here on the ka syllable, so we have a clear vowel on com as well. So stress on ne. And then finally our shun ending. It sounds like combination. It was a good combination. When we have stress later in the word, sometimes people find it helpful to start on that stressed syllable and then add in the unstressed syllables. That would sound like nation, combination. Good word. Thank you for that request. Okay, welcome. Nice to see everyone. We have a question about build, built, and build and whether they're the same. So this build, I'm going to build a house, and build, they build me for building the house. These two do sound the same. They have just the the L and the D sounds together, old, build. But built, I built it with my own hands, has the T sound rather than the D sound. The other difference you'll see here, I built it, I'm going to build it, is that the vowel is going to be longer before the D than before the T. So I built it, I'm going to build it, build it. The vowel there is longer. Yeah, okay, good question. But this build and this build are the same. They both sound like build. Very nice, thank you. We have a question about how to pronounce chain. So looking at that word chain, we have the ch sound for the letter CH, AI, because it's spelled with two vowel letters. The letter A is going to say the A diphthong, and then just the N sound. So I wouldn't really change the spelling here. Just think about the ch, A. You could think about it like AY. It's another way we spell the A diphthong. Che, chain. So if you find it difficult to do that A before an N, sometimes people end up kind of only using the sound. They make it too short, and then it sounds a little more like chen. You don't want that. You want the long A. And we often find it's easier to use that when it's by itself. So trying something like say, che, chain, being able to keep that A even though you have the N at the end. Chain. Great request. Thank you. Okay, we have a question about the difference between and schwa. So as in good book, and vowel schwa. So I'm putting these, actually that's incorrect. I'm putting these in terms of the placement in the mouth. If you look at the vowel, it's very central, and then the vowel is high and back, and the vowel is more central. So, for example, for vowel schwa, a word like buck, like I have a buck, or the deer, and the word book, the good book vowel. This vowel is a little bit rounded, so when I say book, I have a little bit of lip rounding. The back of my tongue is higher for this vowel than for this one. For my tongue is very flat and very central. When I say central, you can also think about when I'm saying my tongue might sit at the bottom of my mouth, but it's not very open. When I open my mouth and my tongue is pressed down actively, or I have the or the sound, ba, like bok choy. Then my mouth is more open and my tongue is down at the bottom. When I raise my jaw, buck, my tongue is central. It's resting on the bottom, but it's not pushing down. That's this vowel. You can think about like a buck or the buck. And then for book, the tongue is higher in the back. It's not all the way at the highest in the back position like an oo. It is a little bit lower, so the oo is here. For book. Using a word like good or should to match your vowel. I should read a book about the buck. Yeah, that's a good difficult contrast, I think, for some people. So that's something I can cover in more detail in a video just about those two sounds. I also talk about minimal pairs in our minimal pairs playlist, where we walk through different pairs of sounds to help you. And in our Sounds of English course, I go in detail on the schwa vowel and the vowel, give you word examples, help you understand the tongue placement so you can hear and differentiate those vowels. But thank you for that request. It's definitely a good topic for today as well. Okay, it's nice to see so many of you here today. Thank you for your good questions. Feel free to put your questions in the chat as you're watching. If you're watching this later on as a replay, you can leave your questions in a comment and I'll get back to you with resources and answers for your questions as well. Okay, we have a question about whether eventually is with an SH or a CH sound. So eventually. This one, I would say it's really hard to hear the difference. So sometimes with this TU, eventually, I think I probably say that with the SH sound, like or eventually. If I used a CH, eventually, it seems a little harsh to me, eventually. It could be a CH as well. In the dictionary, you're going to see probably you'll see the symbol for the CH, but that's because you also have the T and the SH together. So you can either do event where you're not letting that T out, eventually, then it's going to sound a little bit more like an SH, eventually. Or if you let the T out a little bit, eventually, it's going to combine with that SH sound to make the CH sound. So in answer to your question, you can do either eventually or eventually. They should sound relatively the same because if you're using this one, you're using an unreleased T, eventually, or eventually. Okay, so not super clear to define which one you should use, but they should sound fairly similar. And if they sound really different from each other, then work towards something that's a little bit in between by changing how you're saying your T sound in that word. Great question. Thank you so much. We have a question about live class. So live class is on Saturdays at 9:15 Pacific time, 12:15 Eastern time here in the US. You can also see the upcoming live streams if you go to the channel. They list when those are coming up, but typically it's a weekly class at this time each Saturday. We also have videos that release on Sundays, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So a lot of new things coming each week on the channel. You can also see free resources on our website, on speechmodification.com. We have some free practice lessons there, as well as some inexpensive online courses for you to check out. Thank you so much. We have a question about the word media. So we have first syllable stress in media. Letter E says the E vowel. And then we have letter I says the E vowel as well. And letter A says the vowel schwa, the sound. So it sounds like me, long, and then a short D and a short media. There's been a media frenzy over it. I don't follow the media very carefully. Yeah, great word. Thank you for that request. Okay, we have a question about the word query. So for query, I don't know. I think we may also be able to say query for this one, but I tend to say query, which is in which the letter E says the E sound. So it sounds like queer E. Query. You may also be able to say query with more of an air sound on that one. Did you have a query about it? Did you have a query about it? I would say probably going with query is correct. Query. I hope I've answered your query about that. Okay, very nice. Thank you. Feel free to leave questions, add your questions in the chat if you have some. I'm going to turn to some other recent questions. So we had another question from our channel member about a medical technical word, which was I had to look this one up. Bicalutamide. So bicalutamide. So with a longer word like this, it's just helpful to know where the stress is because that's where we're going to have our clear vowel. So letter U says ooh. This one has a stress syllable. And then with the BI beginning, because it's got secondary stress in this word, it is going to say the I sound. So by or by, you can think of it that way. The A syllable, the K syllable, no stress. So it's going to sound like by K. And then we're moving to the Lu stress syllable. And then we'll flap this T, luda, luda. Letter I is going to have the I sound. And then this is going to be another clear I sound, another secondary stress. Letter E makes the I say its name. So mide. So bicalutamide. So I would try practicing that by stressing on lu, lutamide, bicalutamide. Thank you for being a channel member. I'll make sure that I direct you to this point in the video so you can find the answer to your question. And then we had another channel member question about message versus massage. So this is a great question as well. For message and massage, we have two things that are different. Both the vowel, or three things. The initial vowel makes a different sound, the final letters GE make a different sound, and the stress pattern is different. In message, we have the vowel, and the letters GE say the J sound like judge. Message. Letter A is part of the unstressed syllable, so it's going to be a reduced I sound. And then we have J, so it sounds like message. I'll write DGE because that's another way we spell the ij sound, like in ridge. Message, clear and reduced and quick, versus massage. Now our letter A is going to be the sound. It's unstressed, so it sounds like ma. It's going to be short. And then our stress is on sage, so our letter A in massage is going to have the sound. Massage. And then some people do massage with the j sound. I think it's more common to use the j sound, but you will hear both in US native speakers, either massage like message or massage with a j sound like in measure. Same thing happens on the word garage. Some people say garage, some people say garage. So for massage, I'll write the j sound with the letter ZH because it's just like the sound we have in SH, the sh sound, but my voice is on, massage. So I got a message about my upcoming massage. Rhythm differences, vowel differences, and that final consonant difference. So that's for another channel member. Thank you so much, those of you who are channel members, for your support. If you're interested in learning more about that, you can click the join button and see some of the perks that I offer to channel members. Great. Okay, so we have a question about the word period. So that period in history, we have first syllable stress. Letters ER say ear. This is sort of untypical. So thinking about it like he's my peer. And then we have the letter I says the E sound, and letter O is a reduced schwa. So peer, E, ud. Either you can think of it as ud or even id, period. You just want to have a very reduced vowel in that last syllable, period. That's all we can say about the period. That's it, period. Okay, very good. Thank you for that request. We have a question about all right at the end of a sentence. Is there any stress on this, and why is it used at the end of a sentence? So it depends. If you're asking for like confirmation, let's go, all right? It's sort of another way of saying okay. All right, we're going to stress on, at the end of the sentence, we're going to stress on the right syllable. It's all right with me. Are you all right? Let's do it. All right. So I would say just it's used. Some people use it as a filler or a way of confirming, like asking it as a question, same as we would use let's go. Okay. Kind of get agreement from the other person. Good. We have a question about the word brutal. And for the person who commented about outstanding, it was that you wanted me to talk about that word. Let me know if that's your question or if you were just commenting outstanding. Okay, so for brutal, we use a flap T here and a syllabic L. So we're not going to do much with that letter A. Letter U says the oo sound. It's stressed, so it sounds like brew. And then I'm going to write it as a DL. You'll see it in the dictionary with a flap T and maybe a schwa and an L. But it's just like words like little or saddle, where we have TTLE, or DLE, where we use a flap. It sounds like a voiced T sound, but we touch lightly up and then we go right to the dark syllabic L, dull, brutal. So little, Seattle, brutal. I have a number of videos talking about this combination of flap T and syllabic L. And you can also learn about both of those sounds and how they combine in our Sounds of English course, where we walk through every vowel and consonant sound, talk about example words, and help you to use those naturally in your speech. That's a great word. Brutal can be brutal to try to pronounce it correctly. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, very good. We have a question about, oh yes, so outstanding was the question. So if something is outstanding, we're stressing on the stand syllable. The letters OU say ow, like in out or cow. So you can think about it like outstanding. I'm not going to let that T out because the next sound is a consonant sound, so it's an unreleased T, out. You want to go up to make the T, but then you release right into the S of standing. The A in standing is the A vowel, like in cat. So think about it like short, long, short. Outstanding, outstanding. IPA would be outstanding. It was an outstanding performance. He's outstanding in his field. Very good. Okay, thank you for that request and thank you for clarifying. Okay, we have a question about record and record, noun and verb. I do have a video about this and a number of other videos talking about noun and verb stress. Typically, when there's a word that can be a noun or a verb, the most common pattern is to have second syllable stress when it's a verb and first syllable stress when it's a noun. This will often also change the vowel sounds. So in record, because the first syllable is stressed, we have an eh sound for letter E, like in red or red tent. And then our OR is going to be the sound. It's going to be unstressed. So think about it like record. Not much vowel there, just a short little like in her, record. And record, now we're not going to have the clear vowel for the letter E. It's going to be a reduced I sound because the stress is on cord. That's where our clear vowel is. And letters OR will say or in record. So I'm going to record my voice. We have no record of it happening. Record and record. So this also happens on words like project and project. Lots of different words where the stress and the vowel changes. First syllable stress on the noun, second syllable stress on the verb. You can learn more about that in my American Accent 6-week course, where I talk about intonation for words, sentences, and more. And also here on the channel, I have a number of videos for words like this, talking about other examples of noun and verb stress pattern differences. Thank you for bringing that up. Good question. Okay. We have a question about the word rural. I have a couple of videos on this, so I'm going to direct you to check those out after class. But basically, we have first syllable stress. The challenge is that we have the sound with another R in front of it. I suggest building from so trying to say and then and then finally we have the dark L, the O sound, rural. If it's easier for you to do the R on the second syllable, you can think about it like rural and just kind of connecting that R, or you can do rural. Some people use a little more of an oo, like rural, but I tend to use rural. It's a difficult word even for native speakers to say, so just be patient with yourself as you're trying to use it, and just know that that combination of R's and L's can be challenging. I talk about a few more different techniques for approaching it in my videos here on the channel for it. Generally, when you're on the channel page, if you go to the right at the top menu where it has home, videos, community, you can find a search box, type in your word or your question, and any of my videos covering your topic will pop up for you. Or you can leave a comment on any of my videos and I'll direct you to those resources as well. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for your support, your kind comments, your great questions today. It's nice to see so many of you here. We'll be back again tomorrow with a special Sunday video. Monday, we'll have our mini Monday class. Wednesday, we'll have our Word Wednesday. And Friday, we'll have our Fluency Friday. So keep coming back to the channel for new videos. And we'll also have a live class again next Saturday at the same time. So I hope to see you there. Thanks so much for being a part of class today, for your support. For those of you who are channel members, I truly appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you in our next class. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, everyone. Hope to see you again soon.